both the Big 12 and Deion Sanders had BYU and its fans back this week big time. And it's been refreshing to see BYU be one fan base that does get Deion. I think gets him in a way that a lot of people don't. And I always get a bit frustrated with the way that nobody really can. So something good coming from the bad here. All right. Look, the bad is Colorado loses the game to BYU. And predictably, there were anti-LDS, like anti-Mormon chants that were breaking out at the game. Obviously, the one that most people talk about, the F the Mormons chant. And it's not the first time, nor probably the last, sadly, that BYU fans will have to deal with this. You've definitely seen it talked about before. Is basketball season, right? Did that come up? Maybe a BYU fan in the chat can jog my memory about that. But this is unfortunately not novel. It's not unique. And it surprises me 0% that it happened at Colorado. Now that's, Deion says in the clip that I'm going to play you in a minute here, don't judge everybody because of some drunk and possibly high students. And I'm not, but the students have been a problem at Colorado going back to the Big 8 days, right? Like growing up, I used to hear about that all the time. And then I went to Boulder a couple of times for games and I got to experience it firsthand. If you've been around this channel for a while, you guys have heard me tell this story before, but in my student radio days, I went in 2008 and 2010 to Boulder. And I forget which year it was we had the car. I think it was 2010. We had a Kansas State University, like a university car. So it has like the university seal on the side of it, it just says K-State. And we parked it in the media parking, whatever. We go into the game, call the game. K-State loses, tight game, not great teams. And we get back out to the car. We're getting ready to leave, and we hadn't noticed anything under our tires. But when we back out, you just hear psh, 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 because they had stuck empty beer bottles underneath the tires, obviously with the effort to puncture the tires. Now, thankfully, K-State, great job with the fleet of vehicles we had. We did not have a punctured tire, and we made it home okay. But, that was the treatment that we got at Colorado. And the other thing that I always remind people of, this will be a fun one. I'll bring this back up to you. I bet you guys didn't think that today you'd be watching a clip of a 2005 college football game, but I'm about to take you into 2005 Colorado, Nebraska here to see the antics of the Colorado students at this point. All right. So Mike Tirico is on the call. And he's gonna feel a certain type of way here about what goes down with the Colorado students.
And we have a couple more things thrown from that student section. We have about 5-6 things now thrown. And the officials stopped. Remember, we told you they went over and said something to Gary Barnett earlier. And they're throwing water bottles and other projectiles down.
And they don't realize this is hurting their team now because they used 20 seconds off the clock there, that last play, and now they'll reset the play clock and he'll get more time.
Forget that. You're right about that from a game standpoint. The people are idiots. And to come to a game and do something like that, there's no nice way to say that you're a fool.
I mean, just really funny from Mike Tirico. And it goes on for another couple of minutes, right? I mean, I'm not going to make you guys sit through the whole thing. You can go find the video on YouTube if you want to watch the rest of it. But it goes on for multiple minutes, and Tirico is like really going in on these guys. Anyway, this has been the reputation of Colorado students for a while. Unfortunately, I think BYU, the other piece of this is that BYU gets this more so than Notre Dame. I don't hear as much of I don't hear F the Catholics being an issue. TCU has Christian in the name. I'm not going to speculate or get into the reasons why it seems like BYU gets it rougher, but it seems like they become a target that people are more willing to attack when they go on the road all the time. So it's a crappy situation. Now, I'll give everybody involved credit here that, the Big 12 did step up and do something this time. And this is after, by the way, I did talk to a friend who went to the game as a BYU fan that gave me an eyewitness report of this and basically confirmed all of this, that, yeah, it was rough and it was there were people even before the game, during, not so much after because BYU had won, but there were people. It was an eye-opening experience, I guess I can put it that way, which I tried to prepare him for because I kind of knew what was coming here. So, the Big 12 needed to do something and did, and I do appreciate that. Now, they fined Colorado $50,000. It's not like that's a fortune, okay? We were just talking about Big 10 schools getting a 9-figure paycheck from private capital infusion. So $50,000, chump change compared to something like that, but it was enough to at least get it in the headlines. It was enough to get people talking about it. Your ESPN on threes, like everybody was writing about it. And so hopefully that becomes a deterrent for others. Like you have to generate some interest there for it to, I think, become a deterrent for others. I know you could argue that either way. If you make a bigger deal out of it, does that, encourage some students to be more brazen? I mean, I guess like maybe, but I also feel like hopefully this gets schools to be more on their like P's and Q's about it, snuff it out early if it happens elsewhere. And just, symbolically, I think it was great of the Big 12 to step up and do something like that. Now, Colorado released a statement. It's whatever. It's okay. University of Colorado Boulder strongly condemns the use of expletives and religious slurs by individuals in the stands. Such behavior is deeply disappointing, doesn't value respect, inclusion, integrity that we expect of our Colorado community. It's a pretty standard PRE kind of statement. But Coach Prime decided to speak out about it at his press conference, and I think this was, comes across much more heartfelt, much more genuine, and it seemingly gained him a bunch of fans within the BYU fan base.
On behalf of CU, on behalf of our athletic department, we would like to apologize to our opponents from a week ago for whatever derogatory statements were made by our fans. That's not indicative of who we are. Our student body, our kids are phenomenal. So don't indict us just based on a group of young kids that probably was intoxicated and high simultaneously. Maybe I shouldn't have said that as well. But the truth will make you free. But BYU, we love you, we appreciate you, and we support you. God bless.
All right. I mean, honestly, I think that's pretty well done. Pretty well done from Coach Prime there. Being genuine about it. Yes, he is trying to say, hey, don't judge all of us. But, it's not fair to judge their football team. And he's a coach and has a football team that gets judged unfairly, I think, a lot of the time because of he and who they are. So I can understand that. And I've loved so again, kudos to Deion for doing that. Because I think that will help. Like that, people hopefully seeing Deion out there talking about it and condemning it will help it happening in the future. And also just looking at the BYU fan reaction to that on Twitter, I was like, this is good because people are like appreciating Prime for this and kind of seeing the good in him, which I think there's a lot of it. Like, I'm not going to say that I have loved every single thing he's done since he took over as the head coach at Colorado or just has been a college football coach. But really about the only thing that I didn't like was how he handled the media when, he had the deal with Sean Keeler from the Denver Post where he wasn't going to allow him to ask questions. And, I don't like that where it seemed like he was trying to, in some ways engineer some state-run media sort of deal. But outside of that, I mean, he's generally, I think people look at him and he's just incredibly confident, and that intimidates a lot of people. That's off-putting to some people, seeing somebody who's really confident, but he's pretty confident and pretty honest, brutally honest, I guess, to a fault sometimes. But I appreciate the honesty and I appreciate the confidence. And I think he's genuinely a pretty good dude. And, it's amazing to me. I think people just have preconceived notions about him. And this was a lot of BYU fans in the comments like, oh, wow, like he's got a lot of class and respect and this is real leadership. And I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I do think Deion has a ton of that, even if a lot of people don't give him enough credit for that. So I thought that was a cool thing to come out of this, to be honest. I think people just have judged based on a couple things that they see or think. And to me, one of the real true indicators of this and like who he is and how he should be respected in that vein is that like the coaching community seems to really like him. He's talked a lot about Kalani Sitake and Joey McGuire, guys across the Big 12. Mike Gundy actually was another one that spoke really highly of him multiple times at Big 12 media days. Like the coaching community seems to respect him and think he's a good, and I think all these people that think, oh, just fraud and all this glitz and glamour is stupid. The coaching community, I don't think would respect him the way that they do if that were really the case. So, anyway, just a thought. I appreciate that happened because I am optimistic now that this will affect some real change, and you don't see this happen across the rest of the Big 12, obviously for BYU's sake, for BYU's fans' sake, for just like humanity's sake, but also like for the Big 12's sake. Like you don't need the Big 12 having to do this because of multiple student sections out there across the league. You need to make an example here to get it snuffed out before this becomes some sort of problem across the league all the time. So anyway, some thoughts there.